Hello, chefs. This is Chef's PSA, and I'm your host, André Natera. Today I'm joined by Jess Pryles, Australian-born live-fire cook, author, TV host, meat science graduate, and founder of the Hardcore Carnivore brand. She's taught at major events, judged competitions around the world, and become one of the leading voices on beef and barbecue. In this episode, we dive into meat science, how to cook a perfect prime rib, the art of dry aging, and everything you need to know about beef from selection to service. Stay tuned. ChefWorks is the gold standard for workwear. In the kitchen and beyond, with millions of wearers globally, they are the largest and most trusted culinary apparel brand in the world. For over 30 years, ChefWorks has been crafting performance workwear designed by industry experts, tested in the toughest kitchens, and trusted by the biggest names in the business. Whether you're just getting started in the kitchen or a seasoned professional, mom and pop to leading franchise, ChefWorks has the gear and uniform program built for you. Find out how ChefWorks works for you. Save 20% on your order with our exclusive discount code. Just enter Chef's PSA 20 at checkout. This is our third time trying to do this. That's what people don't know. Is the first time we were at, was it Live Fire?
Yep.
Live Fire we were supposed to do and we got rained out.
Canceled.
The second time we were supposed to do this.
We made it all the way
We
in
made it.
here.
We were in the studio and then there was a leak. It was raining.
It was pissing down
It was
rain and
pissing.
it started to come down directly on this table.
This is the third time.
Yeah.
Like in 2 years that we've tried to.
And it's not raining outside.
No, and it's nice outside. I want to be outside. But
I'm
no,
hopeful.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
You were just in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Were you at the La Barbecue?
I did. I saw Ali at the La Barbecue thing, but I went because it was National Finals Rodeo.
Oh.
It's like the whole Vegas turns Western. It's a lot of fun.
What was that?
What?
The
rodeo?
Yeah.
It happens it's basically like the Super Bowl of all the rodeos and the best of the best go, and they do this final in Vegas and it's on for 10 nights.
Yeah.
So like everyone's in cowboy hats. That's why they had the La Barbecue pop.
Okay, that makes sense. I was wondering why she was there. I just thought like, oh, that's a cool experience. But when I was looking at her Instagram stories,
Yeah.
I was like, well, these look like Texans in there, like
Yeah.
people in cowboy hats. I was like, what's going on? I didn't put two and two together.
That's why.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool that she got invited though.
Yeah, she's awesome. So I went, Ali's a good mate of mine, and we went and said hi to her, and then actually ended up on the same flight back, which was just hilarious. She thinks I'm stalking her now.
Yeah.
But she got treated really well. Like they treated her like the rock star that she is. I mean, she's a Michelin-starred pitmaster, right?
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was cool to see her. Where we were staying, we could see this, I don't know, like 10-floor billboard that just had Love Barbecue pop up on it. So that was neat.
What's interesting is I've had Ali on the pod. I've had Leonard. He was on. We recorded yesterday. I don't know when it'll be released, but we recorded yesterday from Truth Barbecue. And then I've also had Evan Leroy.
I love Evan. He's such a good guy.
All three of them cook brisket very differently
Yes.
and have strong opinions. Not strong opinions, like they respect the way the others do it, but they have strong opinions as to why they do it. Ali is hot and fast. You know, Evan has his foil boat method. Yesterday we were talking about how, there's different temperatures when you're cooking brisket. He said during the winter he's going to cook it to about 212, but during in warmer months it might be about 190, and it has a certain feel to it. And he's very methodical in his process and how he cooks brisket, but he's also very intuitive, like the feel and the touch and the smell. And he's talking about how he could smell the fire and he could hear the fire, and he understands the fire much differently that you can't just explain to someone. You have to live.
It's the repetition.
It's the repetition.
And I think that, and I say this as somebody who does not work in a kitchen, so I'm putting the umbrella over it that I think everybody who does is a rock star. Okay. Yeah. But I think that what pitmasters get to focus on with like a narrower scope of proteins on sort of one piece of equipment allows them to become experts faster than a chef with all of the different tools they have to have in their arsenal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if you do anything, and I guess like working a station, right? And that's how you split it up. But if you do anything over and over and over and over again, it just becomes intuitive. And I think that's where a lot of sort of wannabe or backyard, which is what I am, backyard pitmasters have a steeper learning curve is that we don't have that natural, like, oh yeah, I just know how it feels. I just know how it's supposed to feel. And the other cool thing is, meat is not a widget. It doesn't matter. You can try and get the same genetics. You can try and get the same grade, but it is a natural variable source. So it absolutely makes sense that you would need to feel it and look for this certain key, I don't know, textures, because they're not all going to happen just at the same temperature.
So from a meat science standpoint, if you had to look at all, well, let's take the example of Allie, who cooks hot and fast, and take the example of Leonard, who cooks a little bit longer, or you take the example of wrapping it with butcher paper versus making the foiled boat. In your experience, why are they all right, and where could they all be technically wrong?
So the caveat, of course, being that they'll have cooked more briskets in their lifetime than I will. But I think that I have an interesting sort of dual perspective on it. And I actually think that what's happening in modern barbecue is less about the cooking and more about the resting. There's more happening in the holding phase. And I think it started from a place where it was a necessity to hold for service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because that doesn't happen at home. It's ready when it's ready, and you feed people. But they have to make these briskets last at the ideal texture all through service. And so that's where I think this sort of accidental, like, oh, wow, we've got this insanely like overdone rest that has really changed everything here. It's a whole different type of carryover cooking that, of course, needs to be accounted for in the different seasons. So I don't know. Maybe they're all resting in the same way, or they're all resting for the same variation, even if their cook times are different. And that has a lot to do with it. I mean, I know Evan's boat method is more to promote the crunchy bark on top than anything else, because obviously you're not going to get that moisture penetration if you're not wrapping it. But I don't know. Does he wrap it when he holds it?
I don't know. I'd have to ask him.
Yeah.
It's funny. We were saying yesterday, is like we should do a panel, like on this podcast. It was like, let me get Allie, let me get Evan, Leonard, and I was like, maybe you want to be on here with this side with me, really making them fight. Like, okay, who has the best barbecue?
I reckon I think I'd be up for the challenge.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. When it comes to cooking meat in general, actually, let me go back. What's funny is that barbecue specifically is so controversial. Everyone has opinions. When I did a little reel with Allie, and fucking everyone was losing their minds that she doesn't know what she's talking about. Right. You can't cook a brisket in 6 hours, and it's not good. And well, she's from Austin, so it doesn't matter. That's not real barbecue. I was like, holy fuck! Like, I didn't realize how, and they're all right. Right. And they cannot be proven wrong, and they have zero open-mindedness to a new idea. It's funny because sometimes I read your comments.
I know. I was like, this sounds very familiar.
Yeah, sometimes I read your comments. Sometimes you clap back too. It's great. I love it.
You got it. You got to stand up for yourself. I had one like that yesterday where it's like,
I saw that.
Yeah. Some guy's like, I don't know you. I'm like, okay. Doesn't change that I'm telling you scientific fact, bro. But bury your head in the sand.
What was his issue? Because you were talking about milk, right?
So there's a couple of people have done it now, but a really big influencer did this thing where they took prime rib, put in a Cambro, and poured a gallon of milk on it. And then they poured a ton of their, like, whatever seasoning they were selling, and then started injecting the prime rib, which really, like, please
I've never
stop.
Never even seen that, by the way.
Yeah, it's
what was the logic behind wanting to do that?
I have no idea what was happening in his head. I've seen before, the point is that it tenderizes in the same way that buttermilk or yogurt does. I think that's the theory that they're working on. In the same way as some hunters try and use milk to remove gamey flavor or neutralize flavor. But
like soaking liver in milk or sweetbreads, stuff like that.
Exactly. But the thing is, so here's the key thing, the key takeaway from that video. So yogurt and buttermilk have a much lower pH, a much more acidic pH than milk. Milk is nearly neutral. So it's at a 6.7, and 7's obviously neutral. So it doesn't have enough acid in it to actually tenderize. So I mean, from my perspective, in my world, I've got tons of people telling me at the moment, like, please give us more economical recipes and better ways to cook your meat. Coming into the holidays, I can't afford a prime rib, I can't afford a brisket. Like, what am I going to do? And now you got this guy who's like, I'm going to take this $200 prime rib and inject first soak it and then inject it with milk, right? And like we all know that you can have curdled milk pork, and that's a delicacy, but I don't know that I would want curdled milk pockets in my prime rib. In fact, I know that I wouldn't.
I don't. That actually sounds gross.
Yeah.
What was the logic? I mean, and it just doesn't make sense. What were they trying to say? That it's going to be more tender? That's going to be juicier?
They didn't make, the claim was just that it's the best way they've ever had prime rib. And I guess it's just one of those things of, we're living in a real clickbaity time right now.
Yeah.
But I just, look, I put out a video every Monday that I call Meat Science Monday, and it's a little factoid, and this fit into that.
I love your Meat Science Monday, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, I look forward to that.
I just felt like it was like, look, at the very least, I'm going to save you $5 worth of milk, if nothing else.
Well, you're going to save the $200 worth of prime rib.
There's also that. Yeah, that seems like part of it as well. So I don't know. People just see things and they get defensive of creators that they follow already, and some people want to learn, some people don't.
Well, and I guess that's the thing when you live in that creator space, the economy of attention. You have to do some stupid shit sometimes. I know that because sometimes I like, okay, my engagement's going down, I gotta say some stupid shit. Let me find the most ridiculous thing I've said on the pod.
Or like picking that thumbnail.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I gotta figure this out because I know that might do a little bit better. But I look at, and I'm tangent, I look at social media right now, and it is like, at least my feed, it's fucking ridiculous. And I'm like, when did social media get so ridiculous? Like it's skits, it's fucking corniness. I like to say it's sucker shit. And I'm like, and it's just offensive too.
Because we're all babies lying in our crib with a 3-second attention span. And so they're all the adults standing above us going, hey, look at me.
Right.
That's what it's become.
I mean, last night I was watching this thing. It was like this, I don't know, 60-year-old man with his like 90-year-old mother making a TikTok embarrassing her. And I'm like, dude, how did we get to this point? So when I think about social media for myself, I'm like, I don't know. I just can't do it. I can't. It's like, I can't.
Take it back to Brisket, right?
Yeah, sorry.
I'm going to take you social media back to Brisket, right? So if you think about it like this, I think that people are fascinated with making things more complicated than they need to. Like they want to know all of these extra steps and secrets to barbecue that aren't maybe necessarily there. And I've heard people who shall remain nameless, like, I know that they've taken people on wild goose chases. Like I've heard someone say, well, you can smell when there's hormones in the beef, which no, you can't. Just to kind of like get people to be, and I make sure that I trim the corner of my briskets at a very precise angle so that the air flows something,
Yeah.
And it just becomes this white whale that they're chasing. So I think people look to find these like pro tips online, and there's only so many pro tips, so I think people just started making shit up. And when this stuff with the milk happened, people were in the comments like, okay, well, what if I use whiskey? And I'm like, I thoroughly recommend eating a piece of prime rib and drinking your whiskey on the side. Like, when did we decided we need to inject everything into everything else?
Right. And that's your point. And that's similar to what I was saying about social media. It's gotten to the point of ridiculousness that you're seeing people soaking their prime rib in milk, or I like to call it in the chef world, we call it chef thirst traps, because they just make the most ridiculous looking beautiful food, but does it taste good? Is this something that's practical, that you want to eat, that's delicious? And chef thirst traps, and you don't really cook like that in your restaurant. Come on.
No, well, I don't have a restaurant, so I definitely don't, but you know what I'm saying. I get it.
Yeah. Chef thirst traps.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because I see it. It's absolutely true of the meat industry as well.
Yeah.
Or the meat side of creators too. And that's, I think, why I would describe myself as a little bit left behind because I've refused to play the game. So like I still have really decent numbers and I still have decent engagement, but I'm not into the millions like those guys who came up during COVID because I just refuse to use meat glue to glue a pork belly onto a beef rib and deep fry it. And yes, I have seen that done.
It's like I don't even know what you'd call that. Going back to meat science, one of the questions that comes up a lot is the scientific process that's happening with dry aging, and why does it make things better? Arguably better in terms of in terms of the quality of the beef, in terms of flavor. Can you, for people that are listening that don't know, dry aging, like 101, what's happening here and what could we learn?
So the whole process of aging meat, whether it's dry aging or wet aging, and I assume most of your audience will know the difference, but one's just hanging there and one's in vacuum seal. It's enzymatic autolysis, which is a nice way of saying controlled decomposition. So basically, once the animal is slaughtered, eventually as all of the energy of the cells runs out and they run through everything that they've got to get rid of, you go into rigor mortis. The muscles go into rigor where they're locked in place by actin-myosin bonds that just hold them there. So that's when everything gets really stiff and tough. Now, some slaughterhouses can debone the meat before that even happens. Usually in pigs, usually can't get to beef fast enough before rigor sets in. They do that in some pork slaughterhouses. That's called hot boning, and usually that stuff goes to breakfast sausage because it has really good water holding capacity and it's really tender. So there's different ways that they can do things in the plant before it even reaches you, right? But not super common. More common is the animal is slaughtered, it's exsanguinated, it's cut up, it's chilled in beef, it's turned into a side, and it'll hang in a chiller. And during the onset of rigor, the pH starts to decline, and you want it to decline at a very certain rate because that's going to affect the water holding capacity of the meat and also the tenderness as well. So that's why we talk about the animal not being stressed. It's not because it puts, a lot of people say it puts cortisol into the system and you can taste the cortisol. That's not what's going on. It's because that spike is going to affect the rate of the pH drop, which is going to affect the final pH once the animal goes into rigor, right? Why that's relevant is because the pH in meat affects color, tenderness. It can even affects water holding capacity. So we look at things like, if you heard a dark cutter, you might have heard of. So it's the beef that's really, really dark. It's really deep pink and it's really dry. Or in pork, we call it PSE, pale, soft, and exudative because it can't hold on to water. So pH is really, really important, which is, I guess, where that whole milk conversation came from. So once that animal locks in and goes into rigor, you want to try and start to undo that. So everything we do when it comes to meat tenderization, be it smashing it with a mallet, wet aging it, dry aging it, manual tenderization, or using things like pineapple or kiwi fruit for enzymatic tenderization, all of that stuff is to undo what happened in rigor. But aging is a super efficient way of doing it. So what's happening in the meat at that time is there are natural enzymes in it called calpains. There's calpains, cathepsins, and calpastatins, amongst others. So the calpastatins are the inhibitors and the calpains do the work. Calpains are good and we want them to happen. So when we start aging, the calpains kick in, and it's the natural enzyme that starts. It doesn't break those actin-myosin bonds that I mentioned, but it breaks the structure around them. So I'm getting super nerd level.
No.
I feel like you're going to want to hear it.
I'm fully engaged.
So when they say like, oh, it breaks the bonds, it doesn't actually break the bonds, but it breaks the structure around the bonds, which gives us the perception of tenderness and does increase the tenderness of the meat. So once the calpains get started, it's the cathepsins that continue that process. And whether you're talking about wet or dry, that is what's happening when you just leave meat to rest. That's the aging process. Wet aging happens in an anaerobic environment. It can smell a little bit because it's sealed in with bacteria, but those aren't the bacteria that necessarily cause spoilage. So that's why you can wet age and get that extended shelf life because you're giving yourself time, just like us and our skin, and putting antioxidants on it. It's the oxygen that's ultimately going to cause the degradation in meat. So putting it in a vacuum seal will stop that. By the same token, what dry aging does, in addition to the natural enzymatic process that's happening, is you can concentrate the flavor through controlled water loss. So as the meat dries out, it's made up of 75% water. So as you lose some of that water, you're going to concentrate the beefy flavor because it's less diluted. And then on top of that, and this is the real sort of what I'd call cowboy territory, because it's really unknown. It's very There's not a lot of science on it yet. And it should be something that should be a little bit more controlled than it is, which anytime you play with mold, should be like that. But there's the introduction of specific types of mold, much like cheese making, that can also alter the flavor. So you can start getting into territories of nuttiness and funkiness and really sought after, unusually gourmet flavors that you can't
unexplored territory.
Well, the problem is that you don't know until you run it under a microscope which is good mold and which is bad mold.
Okay.
So I've had meat. Generally, the rule of thumb is if it's black, it's not a good sign. But
the mold.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The mold.
I didn't know if you were talking about sometimes the meat on the exterior starts to look hard black.
Yes, that's the pellicle, and you do not want to eat that, so that gets trimmed away. But the black mold is not a good idea. This is the white mold can be a good thing, like again cheese making and penicillins, things like that. The greens are the ones that are like, you might want to look that up under a microscope. And the problem with mold that a lot of folks might not be aware of is that mold is a toxin. It's not a bacteria. So meaning if it's present on the outside and you heat that meat to 165 or 212 or whatever temperature you take it to that would normally kill a bacteria, the toxin is always present because it can't die with heat. It's just there, right?
Oh, okay. Well.
So that's the issue. We got two different types of food safety going on here. It's nothing to be messed with.
My wheels are turning, by the way.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so we know about pasteurization and we know about safe temperatures, but that's only relevant to things like salmonella and trichinosis and bacteria, harmful pathogens. This is a toxin. It's a different story.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
My mind went one.
I just dumped a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Sorry.
You ruined Christmas.
Why? Have you been dry aged?
No, I haven't. Someone told me this a long time ago, and I don't know if it's true. And honestly, it's not my background to know if it's true or not. But they said that's why you shouldn't smell mushrooms.
Because of the spores?
Yes.
Yeah.
They said, that's why you have to cook mushrooms in general, and that's why you don't smell them.
I don't know if that's true or not because I'm not the mushroom gal.
Yeah.
But I can imagine how that would work for the same reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And again, that's just, old wives' tale that I had heard from so on and so on.
Yeah.
But going back to dry aging, one of the, what the kids are doing today is they'll take, let's just say it's a strip and they're dry aging it in beeswax or in beef tallow, or fill in the blank, right? What are your thoughts on that? What's happening? Is that a good move, or is it just it's not really affecting the outcome?
So it's interesting. I was just in Stockholm earlier this year, and it's one of the top 10 steakhouses in the world. It's called AG, and they have an amazing beef program. And what I would like to see happen in more American steakhouses, that does happen in steakhouses in Australia and Europe, and I think we're a little bit behind here, is much as you get this really varied wine list that lets you explore all these regions, a really good steakhouse should have steaks from a lot of different regions. And that doesn't just mean an American and a Japanese and, a filet with the bone and filet without the bone. I want to see, interesting grass-fed product, Rubia Gallega out of Spain, or they're raising it in different places in Europe now as well. Or there's incredible barley-fed beef coming out of Australia, or grass-fed Wagyu even, because the quality of the grass is so high. I'd love to try some Irish beef, because that's collecting flavors, right? Like that's the true meat nerdery of trying all these different things. When you go and you have a bistecca fiorentina in Italy, like that.
What's the cow for that? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yes, but a Chianina.
Yes.
So it's a Chianina cow. I was like, just forgotten. Got it. What's really, really cool about a bistecca fiorentina is it is a 2-year-old animal that has never been pregnant. Now, when you get the animals pregnant, which you do traditionally in beef industry, because you want to produce a lot of calves, the hormones change the meat. So you're talking about an animal that's been raised. So now it has to be even more expensive because you're never going to get progeny out of it, and you're raising it purely to slaughter it. And it looks really lean, and it looks like it should be tough, and everything in your brain is telling you that this is going to be a tough steak because it looks like the worst type to select.
Right. Where's all the marbling, right?
But it's completely different because of the breed, the sex, the fact that it has never been pregnant, and it's been purposefully bred for that purpose. So like those are the experiences that I want to collect, right? I know I know I was getting back to a point, but I'd like to see that happen a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I had hero side quests, obviously I'm not an active chef anymore, but I love steakhouses. I mean, I ate a lot of steak to begin with, but if I would ever go back, I would go back to do a steakhouse.
Yeah.
That's like the one thing that's like, okay, fine dining, all that. Yeah, it excites me, but that's not how I eat every day.
Yeah.
I would love to do a steakhouse if I ever go back. So if anyone ever wants to open up a Mexican steakhouse, or I'm in.
That'd be sick. Did you see that he's doing it at Suerte?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Suerte this month.
I'm excited to go try it when he does it.
Yeah, I think it'll be sick.
Yeah,
and he was just in Monterey cooking like on a big ass offset smoker. He's one of my favorite people. He's also incredible at what he does. But
so we were talking about beeswax and.
Thank you. You're probably gonna need
and tallow.
All right.
The aging with that.
So I'm at AG. They have this really broad range of beef, and they do a lot of tallow aging as well. In my opinion, as soon as you encase the meat in anything, it is no longer dry aging because the surface isn't dry, and you're not allowing liquid or moisture to evaporate because it's now effectively sealed. Right? So it's just a different form of wet aging.
Interesting.
Because it's sealed in the tallow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that we were experimenting with it. I think we did tallow dry age. We tasted it. It was good, but
I've had it done with butter as well. I think if you use a really interesting high quality grass fed butter that has like more flavor than the sort of traditional creamery stuff. You can pick notes of that up. But if I'm going to be real with you, I think the reason it started to get popular is just because there was just too much loss with dry aging.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to convert that when you're looking at pricing.
Not only that, but from a chef standpoint, there's two things going on with dry aging. And I think one of the things that people don't talk about enough, if you've never cooked dry aged meat, is it cooks faster. And you think it's like, oh, that should be, I'm used to cooking this. It's medium rare. It's not. And so you tend to, when you first start cooking dry aged meat in a restaurant setting on the grill or wherever, you tend to overcook it until you figure out it's not the same. That's number one. Number two is the American palate isn't that familiar with dry aging. And so a lot of times you send them a dried steak and they're like, this doesn't taste good. And it does taste good. It's just they're not familiar with dry aging.
Yes.
So there is a point of education that has to go with it. I think maybe there is a point of diminishing returns to the general public of flavor.
Yeah.
Like after so many days, maybe you don't want to serve it.
100%. And my husband's really into extended dry aging because he really likes those funky flavors and he knows what to expect. But it is, if you've never tried it before, and I think that's what confuses people. It's like the Wagyu thing, right? Once they started producing American Wagyu, which is a 50-50 cross, and you start losing some of the hallmarks of what makes Wagyu, because now you've got Angus genetics in there, and so now the fat has changed. Because when you're talking about purebred Wagyu, there's a different texture and melting temperature to the fat, so it coats your mouth differently. Really is a different mouthfeel.
Sure.
And when you split it, you start to lose some of that nuance. And then the next level of that is you start seeing it pop up everywhere and they're finding ways to try and extend it because people know that they want Wagyu, but they don't want to pay for it. And then you've got the public who are like, I don't see what all the fuss is about because they've had a diluted product. And so dry aging is nearly the same. Like if you put 2 weeks on a steak, like, yeah, you'll get some tenderness benefits on it, but you're probably not going to taste like what everyone is talking about when they're like, oh, dry aged, which is the delicacy of it.
Right.
Because it's not for everyone.
Where is your sweet spot when it comes to dry aging?
I like to have a little bit of that tang in there. I would say, and I was going to say, like, I would say somewhere between 30 and 60 days, but I also have to tell you that that's the other big problem, that you cannot assign it a day number. Because if you walk into Lone Star Meats here in town that have a great dry aging facility, I have a dry ager.
Shout out to Lone Star Meats.
Oh, yeah.
I used to love I know they used to be on, are they still on 6th Street?
No, they have a big facility on 71 now.
I used to love touring their facility.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I was like, I love those guys too.
They're
Shout out to Lone
super,
Star.
super nice. So he has a whole.
Shout out to Edward and Franklin.
Ed's one of my peeps.
Yeah.
He has a dry aging facility there at Lone Star, and they have, hundreds of strip loins and short loins and rib rolls in there at any given time. So I have a dry aging fridge at home, and I usually have 1 or 2 pieces in there. So he has a lot more water in his. He has a lot more green product, and he's cycling through. 2 weeks in his room tastes like 4 to 6 weeks in mine.
Okay.
So
yeah,
age is irrelevant.
It's anecdotal, but Edward taught me how to cook brisket.
Really?
Yeah, years ago. So I don't know, like almost 15 years ago,
So
almost 20 years ago, I needed to cook barbecue, and I was like, I'm like French European chef.
Yeah.
I don't know how to cook barbecue. So he's like, I'll show you. He brought his smoker because he would do competitions. I don't know if he still does.
I don't think so.
He used to do smoking competitions, and he came over and he brought his smoker, and he parked it right next to the fucking dumpster and taught me how to.
That's badass.
Yeah, Edward. Yeah, shout out to Edward Hall. They don't sponsor the show, but check out Lone Star Meats.
Yeah, they do a lot of restaurants in town. I just shot my cookbook.
Yeah.
We just shot the pictures for it. It doesn't come out till next year, but it's my second one. And he saved my ass. I got most of the meat from HEB, who were also awesome. They donated meat, but there was a day where they're like, I can't get these last 3 things for you. And I call it. I'm like, listen, I need a tomahawk with a 7-inch bone minimum.
Yeah.
I need a pack of Terrace Major, and I need a full hanger steak with all of the membrane still on. He's like, yeah, no problem. You want it in an hour? I'm like, yes.
Yeah, he's great.
He's got everything.
He's great. I love those guys. Someone told me, I went to dinner the other day with a friend, and he was telling me about, maybe you've heard of it because I'd never heard of it, that there's A5 that is Angus Wagyu breed. Have you heard of this?
So you're saying that there's a crossbred that is marbling at A5?
Yeah, marbling at A5, but it's like, again, half the cost or whatever. Have you seen it? Have you tried it?
I've not seen it.
I haven't seen it. I just heard about it.
I don't know. I don't think that it's going to be half the cost, because if they can get it to marble like that, they're going to increase the cost. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I remain skeptical.
I'm gonna have to take it. Like I said, it was just a brief conversation. I was like, okay, it piqued my interest. I want to see if you knew anything about it.
It can happen. I mean, A5 is just the grade, right? So if they get the genetics right, it's possible to reach that grade without it being full blood. But I've never seen an F1 like that before, which is the cross.
Can we talk about your book or no?
Yeah.
Tell us about your book. I want to know about the process, because I geek out on the process of, when did you get the idea? What was the writing like? What was the cooking like? The recipe writing? And then, you were a year out. How close? Like, is it done and it's still going to take a year?
Yeah, it's such a pain in the ass. I feel like I don't have any kids, but I think this is what it's like when women have children and they enough time passes, and like being pregnant sucks, and they're like, oh yeah, I could do it again. And then when they're having the second kid, they're like, I'm never doing this again. That's what the second book felt like. Why the fuck did I get myself into this again? Because the last one came out 9 years ago, and I think if any of us are asked to speak to our 9-year prior selves, like, there's some cringe in there, There's some moments I
was funnier 9 years ago. So.
Were you less acerbic, less tired?
No, it's funny. I was going to post something on social media, and I was looking for a photo, and I scrolled back to like 2 years ago. I was looking at my old Chef's PSA posts, and like, fuck, this stuff was so good and funny. Where did I lose my sense of humor? Now I'm like trying to.
It's before the internet crushed your soul.
Yeah, before the commenters just fucking couldn't take a joke, and I was like, man, I used to be so much funnier.
I know. I feel that. That feels very real, and I feel seen.
Yeah. Sorry, we digress. Where were we?
So it is a super long process. So this one I decided to really not just make it a cookbook, I wanted it to be really functional. And one of the biggest things that I see in my career is kind of being that weird connector between people who don't know anything about meats, people who know something about it, and then the cooking side and the industry side of it, whether that be industry sort of butchery or industry meat science. And it's always like, well, what's that cut called here? And why can't I get that? And, you know, all of these questions that are so hard to understand about why meat can vary so much in market to market, availability, everything. And so I designed this book where each chapter is a different kind of subprimal or cut. And within that chapter, you see, so like the pork butt chapter, there's, you know, bone-in pork butt, copa, boneless pork butt, take it down like that. And there's a recipe for each of those. So if you want to just use it as a cookbook, there's 100 recipes in there. Go for it. If you want to work your way, it's probably meant more for lay people. If you want to go to the store and buy a cut that you've never tried before, you will be able to find it in this book and you will be able to make something with it. Although I don't do any offal. That was like a little too obscure for this one. But then the front of the book is everything. I've split it into everything that you've ever wanted to know about meat. So choose it, prep it, cook it, store it. And within that is tenderness, aging, why different cuts have different names, what it's called where you might be, and even on every page. So I've tried to make it not like a modernist cuisine kind of like encyclopedia or anything like that, but just like this really useful but functional tool.
I have so much I want to talk to you about. My brain is firing.
That's good.
Yeah, I know, but it's like I don't know where to begin. Let me control my thoughts. My ADD is kicking in. How different are your opinions now versus the 9-year-old, not 9-year-old, the 9 years ago you, in terms of meat science and meat cookery? Has a lot changed in terms of the way you think it should be done?
Not a lot has changed. A lot of the techniques are pretty similar. I'd say it's more that the recipes are a little bit more sophisticated. And at the end of the day, I'm still a home cook, so it's still very achievable. You know, there's no like intense demi in there or anything like that.
Sure.
But I'd say the finished dishes are a little bit more refined. Back then, it was also the rise of like the peak of food blogs where everything was sort of a casserole. Not that there was any casseroles there, but I had like the first book had like cheeseburger pretzel buns.
Yeah.
You know, and and the second book has like chili caramel fish sauce wings.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
like,
right.
We've come places. And I think also still obviously growing up in Australia, even though I live in Texas now, there's a lot of Southeast Asian references. There's a lot of like Middle Eastern references in there. We did awesome sort of lamb and rice, Levantine style with pomegranate tahini. You know, it's not complicated, but just not a flavor you're used to seeing, I think, over here for a lot of standard American cookbooks, especially meat cookbooks. So the knowledge part is still mostly accurate. Like I would say not much changed there, but it just got expanded on. So like the first one had just very basic things like here's why salt's really important to meat, and now it's like here's why meat color is the way that it is in very long format explanation.
Got it.
There's even a troubleshooting section.
From a process standpoint of writing a book, what is your process to get idea on paper or on computer screen? I'm
very much a notebook person. Like I love having different physical notebooks around me. And so it starts by, I knew that the information was going to write itself. It was really more about editing back stuff that was, you know, like I started to get into territory of back in the day when the railway was invented, beef went to being shipped out in 7 boxes. And I'm like, maybe too specific. Like we're getting into the 300-page territory. Let's wind it back a little bit. So from that perspective, the front part wrote itself. I started with this one by making the map. So I identified all the primals, identified all the cuts. I took out the ones. I have a section called rare steaks, so the ones that are like harder to find, like Terrace Major or beef cheek or beef tongue, just less common.
Mm-hmm.
And it did a fat section, bone section, and then I split that out into the cuts that come out of there that should be featured. And then I started developing recipes for each of those. And I would kind of work off 2 lists. Some of them just immediately wrote themselves and like, oh, I want to try and do this. And then others I would sort of try and write concepts down. So like, oh, I think it would be fun to do something with like a black garlic oil. So you just write that idea down. And then when you're looking through the list of the cuts that you've got to do, like, oh, maybe that, oh, you know, I'm going to do a cheetah short rib ramen. So like we're going to use ready-made ramen cakes, but we're going to do this sort of like boil and broil method on the short rib and then hit it with this black garlic oil. And, you know, and that's how it sort of came together.
Interesting. Yeah, I like to write also, so I'm curious about your writing process and how you get from here to there. One of the things, and this was back, if you remember, you know, not Alinea, Next, they wrote a cookbook, and it was a digital cookbook. I don't know if you saw those. So they were the first ones. Well, maybe the second ones, because I think Laurent Gras put out a digital cookbook first, but Grant Achatz put out a digital cookbook for Next. The Escoffier series when they first started Next, and I remember I downloaded it because I was like, you couldn't buy it, you just get the digital version, but there was like videos embedded in the digital cookbook. I thought that was super cool, and I've never really seen anyone do it since then. I mean, digital cookbooks exist, but not with video recipes where you could play in the digital cookbook. I think that's cool. Are you, and again, I don't rant, but are you thinking about maybe attaching like the YouTube video to the recipe in the cookbooks?
Not necessarily. And I think that's the reason you haven't seen it come up, because it's like there's just, you know, social media right now is trying to ask us to produce 5 videos a week, which is I can't do that. I've got too many jobs, but I try and do at least 3 a week. And you're expected to do it for free. So I think some people have done that. Some people have done it behind a subscription or a payroll but like a masterclass channel or something like that. I like the tactile nature of the book. They send a team over to do the photos. Actually, the photographer did Josh Nyland's book.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So I kind of got there. They sent their A team, which was really exciting.
His book's great.
And so it was, you know, it really is going to be a beautiful, beautiful book.
I'm excited. When are you thinking? When's it coming out?
It's coming out in October 2026.
Awesome.
So to your point, you usually have 1 to 2 years to write the book. I had way less than that because we were working back on the timeline. Once you hand it in, so my manuscript was due 1st of September, photos in November. We're working on first pages now, so that's that first layout.
Yes.
You can make changes to first pages, and then once that's finished, nothing can move in the layout. Second pages is just checking for typos and things that are like really, really wrong, which shouldn't be any. And then it goes to print. Needs 6 months to print. They all cookbooks print in China. Wow. And then they need to be shipped via sea. Wow,
it's a arduous process. And I remember when we were going to record, and you know, we had a leak. And you said, we'll schedule after I'm done with the book, because I got a lot of shit on my plate right now.
Oh my God. It was such a push, because you can't put your life on hold, right? You still have to see your friends. You have to see your family. You still have to do your job. You still have to do all of the things that make your life, and somehow find time for another full-time job in addition. So, I mean, my husband is a very patient man, and I would finish my work during the day and then open up the laptop for my night work, and usually I would try and make, you know, recipe tests for dinners, so you're at least getting a twofer. But I had to schedule out. I knew I was going to travel because I travel for work too, and I had to schedule out like all of January and all of May to just recipe test and write. Like, I did not accept any travel. I did not accept much work during those months because I had to clear the calendar. So I was stressed.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine, like, the amount of work that I have to do as a, you know, entrepreneur with Chef's PSA and everything else. The amount of stuff that I do, and I don't think people fully realize the amount of work that goes into into this business. From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, I am working. I mean, yes, there's a dinner, but even when I go out,
but your brain never switches off.
Yeah, I'm usually going out, and it's like, can I make this a work dinner? Like, is there a business aspect to this?
Is there someone here that I should have on the show?
Right.
Is there someone here that I can, who knows someone who can help?
Right.
Find an advertiser. I don't know.
There's so much that goes on. Always on, always on. And it's difficult for me to turn, even like on, like, okay, I'm just saying, for example, it's like, it's Sunday. I should take the day off. I'm only going to work a half a day. And then I look at the time. It's like, shit.
Yeah. Well,
the day's gone. So I'm curious about you as an entrepreneur, because you also have a lot of businesses, way more than I got going on. I mean, you got Hardcore, you got, which, by the way, we haven't even talked about, and your Hardcore Black is great. I love it.
Do you know if Fermin's using it at the restaurant now?
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't. What's he using it on?
He uses it as suerte. They've used it on the carne asada and actually the chicken.
It's great. I love it. I love it. It's my go-to steak seasoning for everything. It's like I cook a lot of meat at home, so like that's what I do.
Thank you. That means a lot.
But you do a lot. How do you, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, if you can give us the I guess the short version, because we're kind of towards the end of the episode, but what does it look like when you said, okay, this is what I want to do okay, I'm going to scale, I'm going to keep scaling, I'm going to keep growing, and then it's like, oh shit, I need help.
I still feel like every day is, oh shit, I need help, quite frankly. And honestly, that's one of the things that I struggle with the most is delegating. And it's really, really important. And I feel like a lot of your listeners would know that, because if you worked in a kitchen, you understand, like, there has to be stations to make it work. Like, one guy can't do everything, or if one's overloaded, like, it's going to back up the whole system. And I think it's the same thing, whatever you do. So I have multiple companies. Hardcore is probably the jewel in the crown. Hardcore Carnivore. We have 9 permanent seasonings, a chili mix, and a fried turkey that comes out seasonally. We've got grilling tools and accessories. We're in Academy, Buc-ee's, HEB, Bass Pro. Like, I mean, we're places. We're all over the world. I was just in Sweden in the summer, like I said, promoting it over there. They're kind of crazy about it too. So I've got that, and then I've got a lot of the stuff that I do under my own name. So I'll do the book is obviously under my own name, and I'll do a lot of appearances and hosting events and things of that nature. And then I've got social stuff. So I do get paid as a creator to do some branded videos as well.
Do you think that social is absolutely necessary for emerging entrepreneurs at this point, at least in our world?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure, because the thing is, I'm sitting, so my account is over 10 years old. That's considered a dinosaur right now. And it has what we call time decay on it, which is, we used to live in a society where the more experience you had, you were rewarded for having experience, and social has now swung the opposite direction. So when I first joined Instagram, it was that the longer you used your account and the more that you grew it, the more seniority you had. Now, because of a desire to keep bringing in new users, it's easier than ever to take off really quickly, and then you spend the rest of your time on social, like, trying to get back to that moment, right? Because it used to be, like, before TikTok, you never would get into a million views on Instagram. It just was not possible. It did not happen unless you were a Kardashian. And now it is possible because they opened the algorithm up and changed everything. Particularly during COVID, I think when people stayed home and made a career for themselves doing that, it also spiked again. And I'm seeing a lot of those people struggle now because they have the numbers there, because they never lost the numbers, but the engagement has completely tanked because now you're old. You've been here for at least 2 years. You're ancient.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where it's going for new businesses, to answer your question. I don't know whether that is something. I mean, at the very least, yes, it's free, so claim it. Like, if you have the name, claim the name, and at least park it. But but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
It's interesting. So 2 days ago, and so this may be a month ago when people are listening, I was on Instagram, and you have the Meta verified blue check mark, right? And it said, get the check mark. I was like, well, I have it. So why is it selling it to me? So I clicked on it because I was curious. And it said, well, you have the basic package. There's now the this package over here, and this package, and this package. So there's 4 packages now above my package. I was like, it goes up to $500 a month for the check mark. I was like, well, what are the tiers? What do you get? And one of the things is like visibility, and to become a recommended account for people to follow. And I'm like, it was the shit that we used to get for free
that are now making you pay for.
Right. So I'm like, wow, it's crazy to see.
And I've never paid for it, which is probably where a lot of that time decay comes from.
It's crazy. Like if you try and grow organically without, paying your fair share of what the social media companies need.
Yeah, it's not enough that we're creating free content for them to sell to ads.
Well, and what's crazy is what you do, where you're cooking a prime rib. You have to go buy it. You have to prep it. You have to shoot it. You have to edit it. And that's probably an all day thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
compared to doing a makeup tutorial, yes.
Right. Right. Well,
a lot more work.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people,
and you have to nail it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You don't fuck it up.
If you don't get the payoff, you're shit out of luck.
One of the things that I realized for Chef's PSA for me is like I dabbled in a little cooking, and then I talked shit, and talking shit got way more views, and it was way easier to stand in front of a camera and talk shit. I was like, oh yeah, that's just lower barrier to entry.
Meat Science Mondays they're 30 seconds to film. It's no cooking. It's just a little factoid, right?
Yeah.
It's really awesome, but people are going to want to see cooking. And then, I mean, inevitably I'm going to have to start repeating meat facts at some point, because everyone wants the secret, like that. Ooh, tell me this one easy trick that I can do to make everything all better and, make my prime rib turn out awesome.
So as we get closer to closing up, I want to ask you what, because it is holiday season, if there was your perfect way to cook a prime rib, what is it? If you could walk us through the process.
My perfect way, I do love smoking them because I feel like it's more forgiving. Even if I do the exact same method in the oven, inevitably the spinalis gets dried out or it starts overcooking a little bit in the oven just because of that radiant heat. And look, if you have a combi, it's fine. I'm dealing with a home oven, all right?
Yeah.
So please. But I usually make a compound butter. And you can dry brine it. That helps a lot too. And then you encase it in the compound butter. I put it in the smoker on a rack over a foil pan. And then the butter melts off it, and I keep basting it with the compound butter as it smokes. And so I'm smoking about 250, about 30 minutes a pound. I crank it at the end, take it out. So it's nearly like a reverse sear. Hold it for about 30 minutes while I take the smoker up to 450 and then just blast it for 10-15 minutes just to get a little heavier color on the outside, which you could do in an oven as well.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous, especially if you use herbs in the compound butter as well. You just get this lovely visual crust, and it looks fantastic. It's bright pink on the inside. It's just gorgeous.
So David Breeden, former chef at the French Laundry, was there for 13 years as the head chef. He has a very interesting way that he cooks meat. And he came here and explained his process to me, and he had been explaining it to me off, not on the podcast, but in our private conversations. And when I cooked meat the way he explained it, it was honestly the best way I've ever cooked meat. So I'm going to share it with you, and then
please.
I'm curious what you think. So he starts with steam. So think sous vide without the bag, in the combi oven for the restaurant, right? So let's just say it's, this is his method, so some of the temperatures might be wrong, but let's just say you're cooking at 140 degrees for a little bit longer than you normally would, Fahrenheit, by the way, 140, a little bit longer and a little bit higher than you normally would be told to.
Yeah.
And then he rests it for a quarter of the cooking time that it was in the steamer. And he says after he came to this because one day he was in the shits and he had to steam it without the bag because they didn't have time to vacuum. And what he realized is that you don't really need the bag. to cook it in. And when the steam comes off, it forms like this nice pellicle on the meat. And then after it rests, so the quarter of the cooking time that it was poaching, then it's the arrosé step. So searing it, basting it with butter, let it rest, and then slice. You know, cooking a steak or whatever. So I did that. I don't have a steamer at home, but I just did lower temperature oven. So it was amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I haven't cooked a steak that good or a piece of meat that well, even sous vide. And it doesn't have that smell sometimes when you open up the bag, when you cook meat sous vide, which I don't like. It was really perfect. But anyway, I'm curious if just me telling you that, and obviously I'm probably not explaining it as well as he can, if anything is like, okay, I could see why that would work or that shouldn't work.
There's two things that immediately come to mind from a meat science perspective. And I will say, before I get into that, one of the reasons that we don't have all the answers in meat science is that there's a couple. One is that most meat science experiments have to be sponsored by something. So the universities need money to run these experiments. And usually it's someone in the industry getting them to run it to prove their point or so that they can develop a new product, right? Which is why we're really, really good at chicken nuggets, because Tyson has paid for a bunch of those. But we don't have as much on dry aging, right?
Right.
So that determines really what we look at. But the other thing is can it be recreated, and is it worth like recreating on a scale where we can get definitive data? So another example being when you talk about resting meat and the big debate that goes on there, like, is it carryover cooking? Is it juice redistribution? Well, there are scientific articles that both support and refute that. So that can complicate things as well when things are inconclusive because they're contradictory. For that technique, two things come to mind. One is just we know that the low cooking process stops that contraction that happens with high heat. When you sear the steak over super high heat, you can see it physically start to shrink in size from the muscle contraction. Whereas the low heat, and the lower you go, the less pronounced it is going to change that tenderness through, I think, that cooking mechanism, right? But the other thing is that, particularly based on the cut, and this is why barbecue works well for brisket, especially if you've got a smoker loaded full instead of one brisket in your home pit, it takes the presence of moisture to convert collagen to gelatin. Like, we know that. And not a lot of people talk about that. So you need moisture to make that magic happen. And so I'm wondering if there's something in the steam that's relating to the cooking process. Maybe some of the just brain farted. Maybe some of the silver skin, like the connective tissue, is cooking in a different method because it's got all of that steam in there, and because that's also just collagen. So it could be affecting how that is responding too. And it's really interesting. Like, that's what's frustrating to me as a home cook. Like, I just don't have access to those methods. I think there's so much fun that you can have with it. Yeah, no, it was one of those things that when he told me, I was like, okay, that's super interesting. And then I tried it, and I've tried it since multiple times now. And it's like, yeah, it'd be hard for me to go back to cooking proteins a different way. Really?
Yeah.
But so laborious.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I have time. Yeah, I have time to do it. I mean, when I'm cooking for others, I should say. If I'm cooking for myself, it's a hot pan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, like, I ended up pioneering this thing called, not pioneering it, but JKF, just keep flipping, right? Yeah. When I grill, I love to grill hot and fast. I get it done really quick. I keep flipping, get really aggressive crust. And I love it because I'm impatient. Yeah. So you get super good crust, really good sort of char grilled flavor, and it's ready really quickly. And sometimes there are nights when that's a good thing too.
I want to ask you, just as we get wrapped up, if there was a bucket list person that you would love for them to cook for you, who would it be? Living or dead?
I should have thought about this in advance, huh?
Yeah, don't offend anybody.
I'm going to offend everybody now. This is the problem. My answer would honestly be, I nearly feel like I want to take you back to that beef place. Yeah. Be like, I would really rather sit down and eat like the world's, pardon the pun, rarest beef. Yeah. Like a really interesting, or like an auroch, which is where all beef descended from. It would be cool to try a beef from an auroch, which they got killed out sometime after the Dark Ages in Europe.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, was that like a cow? Like a cow looking animal?
It was
bovine?
a bovine.
Bovine, yeah.
It was a bovine animal, and the Germans tried to experiment in bringing them back.
Those Germans, their experiments
at that time.
Yeah.
But it was phenotypical, so it wasn't actually true genotype.
Well, I love your channel, but for people that don't know, where can they follow along? Where can they listen? Where can they get your book? Where can they see the prime rib that you just talked about? Because I've seen that video.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then the Just Keep Flipping. Where can they follow?
So everything of mine is at Jess Pryles. My website's jesspryles.com. And then Hardcore Carnivore has its own channels if you want to check that out too. But hopefully you have me back on next year before the book comes out.
Yeah,
I get to show you it in person.
Well, we should do that barbecue episode where we get and we could grill them.
That sounds even better.
We'll make them fight. All right, good seeing you.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to support the show, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else, make sure you leave 5 stars. It's a 5-star podcast. I'm a 5-star man. If you want to get chef brains, I have lots of books available: English, Spanish, Italian. Some are free. You get free ebooks. Go to chefspsa.com where you get all of that. If you want early access to podcast episodes, you could become a subscriber on Spotify and also on Substack. We'll see you next week. Hit the porno music.
No André in the kitchen, mixing, dropping chef knowledge, no fiction, stirring up the beats, heating up the session. Listen close, class is in session.